Guys, it's Friday. Let's get after it. I need you all to buckle up because we got 55 minutes of this show we call The Sweat, presented by DraftKings. I'm Emerson Latzia, NHL, NBA, College Football Championship odds. It's all on tap. Let's start with the important stuff. In the NFL, more great news regarding Damar Hamlin. Check out this statement released by the Bills moments ago. So the team saying that his breathing tube has been removed. He is still intact neurologically, which is fantastic. He's been able to speak with his family, his care team, his teammates. By the way, he FaceTimed into Buffalo's team meeting today. And he said to the team, "I love you, boys," which means obviously Bills by $1 billion this weekend. Yes, sorry, not sorry, Patriots. As for the future of the Bills-Bengals game, very quickly here, folks. Last night, the league said it's been canceled and will potentially consider a neutral site game for the AFC Championship game, depending on how the playoffs play out. DraftKings contributors Jeff Ulrich, Pierce Dietrich, they are here for an incentives edition of Over Under. Let's start with the favorite to win MVP here, gentlemen. Patrick Mahomes, a win over the Raiders, that will land Kansas City the #1 seed. So his passing total currently set at 323.5 on the DK Sportsbook. Now, he needs 430 yards to break Peyton Manning's single-season record, as well as earn an additional $1.25 million if he wins MVP this season. With that in mind, who's hammering the over on this passing yards prop? Jeff?
Yeah, why not? I mean, look, a lot of things go into this, and I think the big thing for Patrick Mahomes, if he wants to hit the jackpot, so to speak, and get the record, he's going to need his defense to accommodate. But the defense has been accommodating. And by accommodate, I mean they've just been playing terribly. Letting 24 points to the Broncos the previous game, just allowing big plays in the secondary. And some of this is going to fall on Jared Stidham's shoulders as well. The Patrick Mahomes is going to need Stidham to look like he did last week. But I think one thing you will see from the Chiefs is a very concerted effort to pass the ball a lot and quickly early in this game. Get up early on the Raiders, get a bunch of yards, get Mahomes to a point where if he does need to throw in the second half, Andy Reid can just say, well, I can just keep throwing because the Raiders have kept this close. So I think if this game is close at all, Reid will know that he's got the bye week most likely in hand, assuming they're up in this game, and he can just let Patrick Mahomes go. Reid wants this from Mahomes as much as anyone. I guarantee it. Yeah, I would take the over here. This isn't my favorite spot to chase because I do think there are scenarios where maybe Stidham throws a pick six. The Chiefs are up 21. Mahomes has like 250 yards, and Reid's like, I can't do it. But yeah, I think he's actually going to do it. I do think that Patrick Mahomes is going to break the record this year.
Pierce, what's your approach here, man? You're muted, dude. You're muted.
Oh, my God. Pierce.
Come on. Damn it, Pierce. You had one job.
Yeah, no, I can't believe I did that. Had a streak going. I think I hadn't missed a mute in a year. Now it's gone.
Like a week.
0 days without a workplace accident. So I'll take the under. I don't buy into all these narratives. I'm sorry. Single season records. That's a boomer move, like leaving your mute button on. No one cares about these single season records. The stats are all inflated. They've changed the game over the last decade. The bonus money that he'll receive doesn't matter. He's already swimming in cash. Reid doesn't care. They're just there to win the game. The Raiders don't have the team that's going to be able to compete. Mahomes isn't going to need to play a full game. Mahomes isn't going to need to scramble around and make plays work. This isn't the high-powered, potent offense. They do a lot of short passes. I just don't see him getting a lot of yards. There's no way he's going to go for over 400. I don't even think he's going to go over to the 322. I think they'll be very conservative and try to get the running game going. They absolutely have to be a little more efficient on the ground if they're going to go anywhere in the playoffs. They're not going to be able to get away with this short dink and dunk pass and leaning on Jerick McKinnon through the entire playoffs to work their way through some very tough teams. So they got to get the run game going. He's not going over this total.
Guys,
last time Pierce was this confident, Emerson, was the Tyreek Hill trade when he said Tyreek Hill will never be traded from the Kansas City Chiefs. Then he was traded 5 minutes later.
Absolute legendary moment in this show's history. A top 5 moment all time, Pierce. Let's go to the game, the only game people really care about this weekend. That's America's team, the Jaguars, hosting the Titans here, guys. Take a look at your screen. Jacksonville's team total set at 22.5, down from 23.5. We know the winner takes the AFC South and the 4 seed in the conference. Over or under this team total for the Jaguars, Pierce?
I'm gonna go under. I'm
Whoa.
really worried as a faux Jackson fan or as a fair weather Jacksonville fan. And
Yeah.
we know that I've talked them up a lot in the offseason. But if there's one team that scares me and gives me the heebie-jeebies, it's the Tennessee Titans. We call them frauds all the time, and often they win a lot of games that we don't expect. And they get slotted into a category of type of tier of teams that they don't belong to. But when you compare the Titans against their peers, against other teams that are pretty equal, they're pretty good. When you compare them against the Jaguars, I don't really think that there's that much of a weakness, that much of a difference. Obviously, you want to see better quarterback play. But when it's all said and done, they've got good coaching, they've got decent line play, and they win games, and they fight, and they stay in these games. I think the Jaguars are going to have their hands full. I am really worried for the Jags. I think they can pull it out, but I think they're going to be limited. I really do.
No, Jeff, they put up 36 against the Titans on the road back on December 11th. And now look at the Titans injury report. I know they rested a lot of their starters last week. Derrick Henry, he's supposedly healthy. But come on, dude. The Titans are banged up. Trevor Lawrence is on a mission right now. The road to the Super Bowl runs through Jacksonville.
Look, a couple things here. A lot to unpack. At 23.5, I really like the underplay as well. At 22.5, it may be a more of a stay away for me. But if you're asking which side, yeah, I would go under here as well. Talk about the Titans injury report there, buddy. There's legitimately, they got everyone back this week.
No.
And that just makes this a more scary spot. Jeffrey Simmons back, a big part of their D line. And you look at what the Titans did when they were healthier too. This team held Joe Burrow to 20 points. This team held Patrick Mahomes to 20 points. And now we're expecting the Jaguars in a pressure-filled environment to all of a sudden do better than those teams did. Look, Tennessee, we know what the Titans are going to do. They're going to make this game as slow-paced and ugly as possible. They're 4th last in pace of play, neutral pace of play. They're going to give the ball to Derrick Henry. They're going to stuff the run game for the Jags, and they're going to force Trevor Lawrence to make some plays downfield. And there's going to be a couple 3-and-outs for the Jags, and they're going to have to stop Derrick Henry. And if they don't do that, this game is going to go by fast. And yeah, Trevor Lawrence probably going to have a chance to win it at the end. I'm not expecting some kind of Tennessee blowout. And I think Trevor Lawrence will do it, but I don't want to take overs in this game at all. And I don't want to take the Jags to cover here while we're on the subject. So I think it's going to be a close game. I think Tennessee is, like Pierce said, they're the enigma that you just don't bet against in spots like this, because once everyone counts them out, that's usually when they pop up and make a mess of things.
Okay, so Derrick Henry, he's going to get his either way. He had 121 yards against them in that previous meeting. It's just about stopping Dobbs. Is Dobbs good enough here? Because they did stop the Jaguars.
As I said earlier in the week, is there that big a difference between Ryan Tannehill and Josh Dobbs?
I mean,
the Titans have been winning with Ryan Tannehill for years now. They can win games with Josh Dobbs, in my opinion.
Tannehill still threw for 254 yards and a couple touchdowns against them in that game. By the way, they did shut down the Jags' rushing attack in the previous meeting, and that's when Trevor Lawrence went for 368 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, Jeff. That's all. By the way, I'm just saying on Twitter, Jags are going to honor DeMar.
Emerson has the Jags scoring 45 points. Big spoiler alert, everybody. Yes,
I have the Jags winning the Super Bowl, buddy. Wake up. By the way, Jags are going to honor DeMar Hamlin with the number 3 outlined in red this weekend on the field. And that is a field, guys, that Christian Kirk and Zay Jones could be making a lot of money on here as we dive into their incentives here. So Christian Kirk has incentives. I got to read this off here so I get this right. For 80, 90, and 100 catches. Also has incentives for 1,000, 1,100, and 1,200 receiving yards. He makes $500,000 for each of those 6 thresholds reached. Currently at 78 catches and just north of 1,000 yards. Now Zay Jones here, Jeff Ulrich, can earn $250,000 if he reaches 80 catches and can earn an additional $500,000 for reaching 90 yards. 900 yards rather. He's currently at 78 catches and 802 yards. It's a lot of numbers thrown out at you. But the reason we bring this up is because Trevor Lawrence could be peppering both these guys. We know that the relationship with quarterback and wide receiver in this league said, hey, I got you. So whose over are you riding here in terms of receiving total, Jeff?
So look, this isn't a game where you ride narratives. This is a game for a playoff spot. It's not like Trevor Lawrence is going to go in there in the 4th quarter with the game in line. man, I know you're open all the time, Christian Kirk, but like Zay has this bonus and we got to go to him on this play. So if I was picking between these two, I would definitely take Zay Jones. I mean, the one thing that the Tennessee you can do, and we've alluded to this already, is you can throw on them. Absolutely. Zay Jones had a big game against Tennessee the last time these two teams showed up, as the outside sort of main wide receiver one for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's been very productive in spots this year, and he's had a couple slow games, and I think that's baked into this prop now, which I like. It's a little bit depressed. I think that if he had been coming off a big game, we may see this prop in the 60-yard mark up against the weak secondary. But I think Zay Jones very capable of going off for a big game, and I think they'll need him late in the game. So I do kind of like these guys for decent games, but really this isn't about narrative. This is about matchup and the fact that I think the Jags will be passing late here, and the fact that Zay Jones will probably benefit to the overside just because of that.
Okay, Pierce, 58.5 receiving yard total for Kirk, 52.5 for Zay Jones.
I like them both. And building off the matchup analysis that Jeff just laid out, Tennessee 28th in pass DVOA, and they're really good against slot receivers, which is not good news for Christian Kirk. But if they're really good at slot receivers, but they have the 28th pass DVOA, then they must really struggle against outside receivers. So you got to boost up Zay. I think Christian Kirk's going to be fine as well. If you roll back the tape and go back to the May 17th episode of The Sweat, people were down on the Jags for overpaying for Christian Kirk. So he obviously doesn't really need the money because he got that big contract. But the one person that said, I think this is a pretty good deal for Jacksonville, it was me. He was coming off the best season of his career, and yet we're still not giving this guy any respect. He nearly caught for 1,000 yards last year, 78 receptions. His catch percentage was better than Devontae Adams. It was just 1 percentage point lower than Cooper Kupp, and yet no one considers this guy a big-time receiver. Well, here it is, Saturday night to get the Jaguars into the playoffs. Well, it's not just that. Christian Kirk can actually make himself a household name and prove all of the haters wrong and become, or at least considered, one of the elite receivers in this league.
And back on December 11th against the Titans, Evan Ingram, 11 catches, 162 yards, 2 touchdowns. And since you two love tight ends so much, how about these incentives? Tyler Higbee will earn an additional $125,000 if he can surpass 600 receiving yards, currently has 587. Hayden Hurst, Jeff Ulrich's boy, will make an additional $250,000 if he can reach 60 catches. Gerald Everett will earn an additional $250,000 as well if he hits 60 catches, currently has 55. When it comes to the prop market for these guys, I know their numbers may not be currently listed on DK Sportsbook, dudes. Which one would interest you the most, Pierce?
I'm not betting tight end props on a normal week, and there is no way that I am betting a tight end prop in week 18 when we don't know if the tight end is going to play the entire game, the quarterback's going to play, what the offensive game plan is going to be, if the line's going to be healthy or playing, what the defense is going to throw at the opposing offenses. No way, no how am I even going to consider betting a tight end prop. Next question for me.
Okay, well, we got to have Jeff answer the question first, dude.
Of course, this is the wheelhouse for me. Of course, Pierce gives the lame answer. I'm not going to bet tight ends. The guy you want to target here is Gerald Everett.
Yes.
The charges have come out. Brandon Staley is an insane person. He wants to play for the 5th seed for some reason. They're going to play their starters here. Gerald Everett, 5 catches. This is $250,000. This isn't Travis Kelce with like a $15 million per year contract. Gerald Everett knows that this mark is out there, and he can hit it because he's playing the Denver Broncos, who I can't even remember how many catches they allowed to Tyler Higbee a couple weeks ago. But this defense for the Broncos has seriously regressed over the last couple weeks. They're not good against darting against tight ends. And Gerald Everett is a player who can definitely get there. I would look for Justin Herbert to just pepper him with a couple early targets in this game. I think this is one where you can take it seriously and you need to be aware of the incentives. I think Everett makes for a nice little DFS play as well. The matchup is there. The narrative is there with the coaches playing full throttle in this game. And I think Gerald Everett is just a good enough player that he can do this given the opportunity. So, yeah, give me the over here on Everett. I think he makes for a nice little target this weekend, DFS, like I said, too.
Guys, we'll wrap up here. Last question. Sunday Night Football. Last game of the regular season. Lions at the Packers. Packers, it's going to be win and end. Lions will need a little bit of help, but we know they're not going to go out on a weaker note, whether they're in the playoffs at that moment or not. Over is at 49, the game total here. What do you like, Jeff?
Yeah, we got to go over here. Look,
yes.
Aaron Rodgers First of all, is not going to lose to Jared Goff. So let's get that out of the way. You can mark that tape and play it back next week if it happens.
Wait,
but,
didn't he already lose to them?
I think that the Packers here going up against the Detroit defense that, it's the same story all year. Yes, the Lions are a nice story. Their defense is not good. They're not going to stop anybody. And Aaron Rodgers in this game at Lambeau, the Packers might put up 40 points here. They really might. And look, it's not like the Packers defense. They had that nice game last week. It's not like you can't move the ball here, but I do think that you're going to see a very fast-paced game. I think that the Packers could get out in front, and I think that you could see some quick defensive scores, much like last week too, if things go south for Goff early on. So give me the over here. I think the Packers are going to put up a bunch of points and make this one take this one going away.
Pierce, Jeff says Aaron Rodgers will not lose to Jared Goff, but he did just that back on November 6th, 15-9.
That was before he got his haircut. So just
that's important. No, that's very important. So please consider that here, Pierce.
Yeah, well, maybe that's something too. He went with a more conservative haircut, and maybe he'll have a more conservative approach, because the reason they lost that game was because he was just winging the ball around in the red zone. The Packers were probably the better team in that game. It just Rodgers pretty much lost that game for them. Since then, Rodgers has dialed it back. He stayed within the system, and guess what? They're going to go to the playoffs. And they're scoring points. 6 of the last 7 games, the Packers have scored 24 or more points. 4 of those, they've scored 4 touchdowns. They're not really an explosive offense. They're not going to end up with a lot of stats. But when they drive, they get touchdowns. They're a very efficient offense. And they shouldn't have any problem getting the ball in the end zone against Detroit. And then on the other side, Detroit's got a great offense. Their defense is terrible. That pushes towards the over. I know that Green Bay has had some good defensive games, but they've also had some bad defensive games. They're very erratic, which is just a nice way of saying they're not a good defense. So I think Detroit's going to get the points. Green Bay's going to get the points. Play the over.
All right, guys. Very nice work. Appreciate all the help. We got to take a quick break, and then we'll do some best bets around the NHL. Jeff, I believe you're part of that segment, so let's get excited, and we're back in just a sec.
What's up, everybody? Jesse Cofield here alongside DraftKings contributor Julian Edlow. Welcome to this week's Showdown Spotlight presented by KFC. So, Julian, a playoff spot is on the line Sunday night as the Green Bay Packers look to finish their improbable run to the postseason after a 4-8 start. But they have to do it by beating the Lions, who need some help but could also sneak into the playoffs. So, Julian, with so much on the line, who are you looking to lock into your KFC bucket pick for this week?
Yeah, I think the Packers are going to come through and beat the Lions in this game, and if they're going to do so, they're obviously going to need the services of Aaron Rodgers, so I'm looking to start my lineup there. The Lions have allowed the most DraftKings fantasy points to the quarterback position this year. Aaron Rodgers at home. This team is clicking, going for a 5th straight victory. I think Rodgers, between all those receivers that he's piecing together and his 2 running backs, is going to find a way to put up some points against the Lions.
All right, who's the player that you're stacking with your bucket pick, Aaron Rodgers?
I think that we can fit a lot in here if you want to go to the Packers side, because their wide receivers are also cheap. So you can sprinkle a bunch of them in, but I am going to go to the ground game as well and go with Aaron Jones. I think that he's a guy that's going to be able to catch some passes, get you some PPR points from Rodgers, as well as get going on the ground, because the Lions are not very good defending the run either. So I'll get that dual threat in with Aaron Jones and then look to sprinkle some receivers.
All right, thank you, Julian, and thank you guys for watching this week's Showdown Spotlight presented by Kentucky Fried Chicken. KFC's pot pie only costs $5. It's the ultimate comfort meal. It's filled with a delicious mix of tender chicken, savory sauce, and perfectly cooked veggies. It's the perfect post-holiday pick-me-up. It's finger-licking good.
All right, guys, we got Jeff Ulrich back with us. Paul Bruno of RotoWire hanging with us on a Friday edition of The Sweat presented by DraftKings. Let's talk some NHL best bets here, guys, because we got 6 games on tonight's slate. When I ask the award-winning question written by Samir, favorite puck line tonight, question mark, Jeff, you say?
I'm going to say Tampa Bay Lightning at -1.5. We're getting plus 215 here. And that's really what's factoring into it. I mean, these odds are just a little bit too big for me on a quality team like Tampa Bay to ignore. The Jets are a little bit of they're a tough team to guess right now. They are so banged up front, but they keep winning games, mainly stealing games from Connor Hellebuck. But this is a really tough matchup here. Lightning coming in off a loss, obviously, as well. And, you know, again, I think it just, but if it was any other team, you might be a little bit worried here on the road. Can they get back on the production? But this is the Tampa Bay Lightning. Very veteran team. We're playing extremely well before they got, kicked in the face, so to speak, by the Minnesota Wild. But I think they bounce back here. And like I said, this comes down to the odds. plus 215. Yeah, give me the Tampa Bay Lightning here to cover on the puck line against what is still a very depleted Winnipeg Jets squad that I expect to see some aggression from soon.
What's the bet here tonight, Paul?
I can't believe Nashville is going to keep Washington under wraps tonight after the barrage of shots they face. They're going to be dead tired. And I see the Caps at plus 160 here on the puck line. To me, that's the cinch bet of the night. I also like Florida big over Detroit. The Red Wings are starting to flounder a little bit, and the Panthers have a little bit too much in terms of offensive depth there. So I like them at plus 170 in that one as well.
All right, next question here. Which game are you on for an over here on the goal total, Paul?
Well, I just said about Florida's offense, and their goaltending is lousy. Detroit's goaltending is floundering as well of late, so I see a lot of goals in that game. One thing Detroit's got going for them is a pretty productive offense. They've built steadily to bolster that attack over the past couple of years, and Florida's not going to defend them very well. But the same goes for the other side. So I see a lot of action in that game to go over. And I think the Caps are going to have a big night against Washington. I think they're going to run up a big score. I know he's going to be part of the highlight reel again. So those are the two bets that I'm going to go over tonight.
Which night is he not part of the highlight reel, Paul? You know what I mean? Jeff, which game you targeting here, dude?
I think both those totals at 6.5 are definitely worth going over on. I agree with Paul. I mean, Capitals here potentially in a spot just to put up 6 on their own, I think. And at 6.5, you're still getting minus 105 there. And the Panthers, they've started. Barkov is back in the lineup here. This team has to get going at some point. Just a little bit more consistency in the win column. This is a spot where they should be taking care of business. Detroit had a nice little stretch there. This is still a team that they're just not on the same level 5-on-5 as the Panthers. Just really not on the same level as creating chances. They still give up a decent amount of chances too. I think the Panthers come in here and roll, potentially put up 6 of their own. So I think the over on both those lines for the Predators and Caps, and mainly the Panthers and Red Wings as well, I think they're worth going over on.
All right, which money line play is landing on your betting card tonight, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with these two games here. I think we have some closer contests potentially scheduled on the back half of the slate, but I like the minus 150 you're getting with Florida here. Again, this is a team that, we haven't seen the odds on Florida necessarily fluctuate as much as we'd like, but I think tonight, like at minus 150, we just saw this Detroit Red Wing team get pretty much manhandled by the New Jersey Devils, another team that's very effective at 5-on-5. In terms of expected goal for percentage rate, the Panthers are still up there, well in the top 10. Definitely outperform the Detroit Red Wings in that scenario as well. If the Panthers just get a little bit of a stretch here, a solid goaltending, they're going to start winning games like this by a big score again. This is still a very potent offense, and at minus 150, I think this is just a very solid line here to take, because I think there's a pretty big gap between these two teams when it all comes down to it. So minus 150, it's not the biggest line out there, but I still think there's very good value there on the just taking the Florida Panthers straight up tonight.
Paul, you gonna go with the dog here, dude?
No, I'm looking at Winnipeg, versus Tampa. It's even money. So I like the fact that Winnipeg can match Tampa's physicality. Tampa's been relying on that for a while now, and I'm catching on to this tactic. But Winnipeg will match them blow for blow, and the high-end guys on the Jets roster are playing very well right now. And we already touched on the fact that Hellebuck is playing at a career best, and that's a real rarefied air among all goalies. So I'll take a chance on Winnipeg, and I think if anybody watched the World Junior Hockey Championships, this could be an interesting game between Arizona and Chicago. I wonder if any of them either team is going to take too many shots on goal, because I think they're both tanking to get that first overall pick. So I'm taking Arizona at home, maybe to win 1-0 here in a very low event game.
Paul, what's the goal scorer prop du jour? Which dude's putting the biscuit in the basket tonight, baby?
You know what? You can pick away at a number of players here tonight. I think that there's going to be a lot of goals scored tonight. Look at Philip Forsberg, plus 145 against Washington. This guy scores against everybody. He's on a real heater for the past month, and the Caps goaltending has been suspect during much of that time as well. Keith Tkachuk's son, Matthew, is going to get a goal against Detroit, plus 130. He's been on a long-term heater. Carter Verhaeghe might be an underwhelming option on face value, but he's playing top 6 minutes and alongside Barkov, and that's worth a play at 155 as well for me.
Jeff, who's it going to be?
I'm a little bit of a contrarian move. If you want a little bit bigger odds, Logan Couture, 10 straight games without a goal, but playing the Ducks tonight. I mean, like he started off the season extremely well. He's still shooting the puck on net quite a bit. I really don't hate this at all. If you look at Couture over his career, he's got 22 goals against the Anaheim Ducks. This has been a pretty positive matchup for him. And I think that looking at the Florida Panthers tonight is definitely something that you're going to want to do. I like the Verhaeghe call by Paul there. I think plus 155 is more than fair. I think you could even go down their lineup, though. Sam Bennett is plus 200 to get a goal there as well. So I'd be looking to go down the Panthers roster if you want bigger odds. And I'd definitely be looking to attack that first line, maybe even just taking a Barkov at plus 140. I think the Panthers are just in a spot where 5+ goals tonight, a very big possibility.
Jeff, let's get real weird right now, dude.
Uh-oh.
What's your favorite blocked shots prop? Come on, man. Open up. Be real.
This isn't even weird for me. I mean, I look at these props all the time, like on a nightly basis. And I got one for you here that I actually really like quite a bit. It's Mikhail Sergachev of the Tampa Bay Lightning at plus 140 to go over 2.5 block shots. Sergachev's gone over this in 3 of his last 4 games now. He's become a big part of the Tampa Bay Lightning. I mean, this is a defender that they rely on night in, night out. This isn't a player playing 19 minutes anymore. It's a player averaging over 24 minutes over his last 5 games. You look at just the production as well. I mean, like I said, just the time on ice obviously is a big thing, but this is a player who plays in all types of different situations for them now. It's not just the power play or anything like that. It's on special teams. It's on the penalty kill. I think that just the fact that you're getting plus 140, this isn't like plus 100 or plus 110. This is plus 140. This is really nice odds here. Sergachev, just a dynamic, like all around, top 2 defenseman right now. And I think you got to take those odds.
Paul, give me a money-making blocked shots prop.
Well, mine's based around the fact that Nashville gave up about 100 shots last night, and now they're playing the second of back-to-backs, and they got Ryan McDonough in tow, and he's a shot-blocking machine. He averages about 2.5 per game, so I think that's a lock against a Washington team that's going to come out swinging. So that'll pay off at plus 140. I also like Ben Sherratt for Florida against a Detroit club that gets their fair share of shot attempts as well at plus 120. So 2 guys that average right around 2.5, going to go over that number tonight.
All right, last one. A parlay you are considering on tonight's 6-game NHL slate. Jeff Ulrich, take it away.
Yeah, we're going to go just the straight-up money line here. We're going to go Washington Capitals minus 155, and then we're going to go the Florida Panthers at minus 150. And that's going to give us a nice little parlay of plus 175 there. So, again, we talked about the situation for both these teams. Obviously, Capitals at home. Nashville was just like, I can't even believe what happened last night. 64 shots against. And then you got the Panthers who, like I said, they're due for a little bit of 2023 positive regression in the win column here. Love the matchups here for both of these teams. And plus 174 to take them both. I just think both these teams are at just a little bit undervalued in the money line department. If you parlay them both, you're actually getting pretty good value there. So Caps, Panthers to both win straight up.
Bruno, what's Paul's parlay of the night?
I think I'm on with the Washington over Nashville 6.5. I think they haven't got the ice packs off Saros yet, so they're going to put a backup goalie in net. That means a lot more of an opportunity for Washington to run up a big total, so easily over and easily winning in that one. And Anaheim over San Jose. Neither one of these teams defends well, but they both can score, so I'm going to say they go over, and I think Anaheim as a home club wins. That's a plus 330 bet. Very healthy payoff there.
Gentlemen, your time here is done. Our sticky puck conversation has been complete, is now complete. 11 games tonight in the NBA. Who the hell are you going to pay up for? Nikola Jokic, he's big, he's beefy, he's damn good at basketball. We'll talk to our panel about it right after this. 11 games around the association tonight, I can confirm. So we're going to help you right now with some NBA building blocks. Who to build your money-making lineups around at the following positions. Our panel this morning, Gary and Thorne is here. DK's Nick Fryer, and making his sweat debut, the living Boston legend himself at WEEI, Rich Keefe. Rich, welcome to the show. I hear you and Fryer. I hear there's a little bit of drama and maybe some tension in y'all's friendship right now.
Yeah, I can't stand him. I hate his guts with an absolute passion.
Good.
And I know you work with him, so you know exactly how I feel.
Yep, absolutely. Fryer, anything else you would like to say about that? Because I have sources that say that you have made some poor choices, which has led to the demise of your friendship with Rich.
You know, Emerson, you accused me on the slate recently of being one of the biggest pot stirrers at DraftKings, and you were proving that that is a lie, and you in fact are, because this is all news to me. And I feel like Rich is just going along with what you're saying right now because he wants to put on a good face because it's his first time on the show. But this all sounds like absolute nonsense.
Or Rich is an absolute professional, which he is, and he comes on this show and he spits nothing but straight facts, bud. Just like a straight fact. Last night, what I tried to do, Nick, I tried to tee you up on Lauri Markkanen. Said, you got to play this dude against the Rockets. You said, no, stupid idea, don't do it. What's he do? Drops a career-high 49 points. So what?
I didn't say it was a stupid idea. Putting words in my mouth.
No.
You know what, Gary? I don't know about you, but ever since the Jaguars became a playoff contender, Emerson has gotten way too confident for my liking, and now it's permeating into basketball. This is ridiculous.
Knock it off. Grow up, Rich. Damn happy you're here. So when we're talking building blocks at guard, who do you believe people should build their lineups around at that position tonight, dude?
I like CJ McCollum a lot. 8,500 taking on the Brooklyn Nets. He's got 10 threes in the last couple of games. He has 2 40-point games in the last couple of weeks. You know you're going to get points. You know you're going to get threes. The assists are good. He's 20th in the league in assists. The rebounds are going to be whatever they are, but CJ McCollum I like a lot. 8,500 is not crazy. You could build a pretty solid team around him.
All right, Gare Bear, would love to hear your beautiful voice for the first time in this segment. Talk to me.
Oh, thank you. I don't have any beef, so it was tough.
No,
I didn't
you're
want to
great.
interject.
You're Canadian. You're nice as hell.
Sure, that's a stereotype I'll dive right into. Let's start really cheap, and then we'll spend money elsewhere, because that's easy. Raul Neto has an opportunity tonight. He might even start. There's an outside chance he starts. Just what's left right now in Cleveland? Donovan Mitchell, we've already heard announced, will not play tonight. He's going to get the night off, get some rest. Darius Garland is questionable with that thumb injury. So obviously, for someone like Neto to be viable, you need both of those guys to be missing. But, this is where injuries to even someone like Dean Wade comes into play, because the one time both Garland and Mitchell missed a game this season, it was Dean Wade who started. They basically went without a point guard in that contest, though by the end of that game against Detroit back in early November, Neto put up a season high in minutes. I just think he's so ridiculously cheap. We could get into a scenario where, again, he might start this game. He might play over 25 minutes off the bench. Either way, at $3,400, I think he's a very nice value option.
Fryer, who would you build your lineup around at guard, dude? Oh my God.
I think I would have probably talked about Neto too if a certain, friendly so-called Canadian had not demanded that he be the only one that talks about Neto on the show today. Just wanted to throw that out there, Emerson. You're talking about how nice some people are on this segment.
You want people to believe that you don't start beef.
Look at this. Look at this backdrop. And Jessie's not even here to defend herself. That is not a flattering photo of my co-host, okay? Listen, I know she has her flaws, but that picture is not great.
You know what? The picture you shared on Twitter the other day of her, she's a champ, because I don't know how she deals with you all the time. But anyways, for a guard that I want to build around, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, 9.8K. And this one, to me, is a little bit of a contrarian play, because you look at what the Wizards have done against opposing point guards this season. They've limited their fantasy points output. But SGA did smoke them for 62 points, DK fantasy points a little while back, earlier in the season. He came back strong after being sick, of course, missed that game against the Celtics where the Thunder somehow upset them. Didn't go and put up SGA numbers like he does against the Magic, but again, he had just been sick. So coming off that loss too, after that big win, to me, he's got a little bit extra motivation in this one too, going up against the Wizards tonight.
Gare Bear, how about at forward here, man? You've got some big names to choose from, including a guy, Kevin Durant. I know the Nets, their win streak is over, but Durant still dropping north of 63 fantasy points in that loss to Chicago.
Well, see, now I'm worried that Kevin Durant's going to put up his career high tonight. So I will say I endorse Kevin Durant on all slates. However, my eye is drawn towards Julius Randle tonight, $10,600. RJ Barrett is going to miss technically his 5th consecutive game tonight, but he only played 2 minutes in the game he got injured just after Christmas. In those 5 games where Barrett's only played 2 minutes, Julius Randle has put up some ridiculous numbers. 34% usage rate. He's averaging 1.5 DraftKings points per minute. He's playing 41.5 minutes per game because Tom Thibodeau is a madman. And in those 5 games, he's only gone below 60 DraftKings points once, and it was 59.25 DraftKings points. So at this point, playing just an absurd amount of minutes that you could only get under Tom Thibodeau or Nick Nurse, I just think Julius Randle is someone really easy to lock into your lineups. His floor is so ridiculously high, and his ceiling's even higher than it normally is because RJ Barrett's not available.
Rich, which forward would you build around tonight, dude?
I like Keldon Johnson from the Spurs. This is an absolute trash game between the Spurs and the Pistons. Nobody gives up more points in the league than the Spurs. The Pistons are right behind them. So I would expect no defense, a lot of points. Keldon Johnson leads the Spurs in points. He's good for over 20. Maybe he even has one of these Lauri Markkanen type games, Emerson. Maybe that's a possibility. He's also hitting a few threes, hitting a good percentage of threes right now. Again, rebound and assists are what they are, but you're going to need a big scoring night. But I think it's absolutely within reason for Keldon Johnson tonight.
Okay, I like it. Fryer, who do you like it forward?
So, going off of what Garion said about Neto, I do think Isaac Okoro is in play tonight as well. He's logged 20 minutes in 3 of his last 4 games, 19 in that one game where he didn't eclipse the 20-minute mark. He's returned 5 times value in 2 of those games. And last game, he came up just short. So even if Garland ends up playing tonight, which I believe last I checked, he was questionable for tonight's game, even if he does play, he's still in good shape to at least return 5 times value. I argue he's in even better shape because Mitchell, of course, plays a little bit more of the wing as much as he can, handle the point as well. And also with Garland, too, he's coming off of a thumb issue if he does play, and that's going to impact probably his shooting in some capacity and possibly his confidence as well. So I think that Neto is a great way to save tonight, and I think Okoro, you can do the same that forward.
Well, Nick, what about as we move to center here? Do you go with like a usual suspect near the top of the board? Can you get more middle of the pack here for a building block?
Yeah, look, I mean, I know yesterday I talked about Jokic didn't perform, and he is definitely a guy you can consider tonight, but the guy who stands out most to me right now is Nikola Vucevic at 7.3K going against the 76ers. Biggest reason for that, no Joel Embiid tonight. And he's logged Vucevic has logged 41.25 DK fantasy points in 4 of Chicago's last 5. And even in the game where he didn't reach that total, he still provided 5 times value for the salary that he has tonight. Montrezl Harrell, look, he might be worth rostering at 4.5K. Definitely a guy you can roster and save with tonight. Going to get more minutes and everything like that, but we're not rostering him because what he brings on the defensive end. So I really like Vucevic a lot. And you look at what he did against the 76ers earlier in the season when Embiid played, 23 points, 19 rebounds. I think he could really go off tonight.
I mean, Gerber, as is always almost the case when he takes the floor, the Greek Freak has the highest ceiling projection on the slate on DraftKings.
Yeah, and he's been incredible. I believe he's eclipsed 80 DraftKings points in each of his last 3 games. I'll actually stick with the Bucks, though, and pivot a little bit off of Giannis. Though he does have center eligibility, he's not the center for the Bucks. And opposing centers have just absolutely dominated the Hornets this season. You can basically close your eyes and just pencil in whoever the starting center is against Charlotte every single night, and they're going to clear 30 DraftKings points. And that's why I think Brook Lopez is a perfectly viable option at half the price of Giannis. Now, generally speaking, Brook Lopez has less than half the DraftKings points of Giannis, but he's been really good in his own right. He's playing a ton of minutes under Mike Budenholzer. The blocks are there. The rebounds are there. The points aren't as consistent, obviously. He's not the number 1, number 2, or number 3 option on the Bucks. But again, centers destroy the Hornets. And even in Brook Lopez's last appearance against Charlotte, about a month back, he put up 38 DraftKings points in this spot. It's basically the best cheat code of 2022-23. Play centers against the Hornets.
All right, Rich, which center are you going to target, dude?
You know, it pains me to agree with Fryer, but I have to because Vucevic was the first guy that jumped out to me when I was scrolling through, looking at the values, looking at what everybody's salary was, and I thought at 7,300, no Embiid on the other side tonight. So I actually kind of like the Bulls, but he's a double-double machine, has been all season long. 21 and 13 his last time out. He's had 4 double-doubles in his last 5 games, so I like that matchup a lot, and it's a good 4,500 less than Jokic. So unless you want to go real cheap and have some of those real finds and have Jokic in your lineup, you're much better off having a guy like Vucevic going up against the Sixers team without Joel Embiid.
Yeah. Okay. So Rich, you said you like the Bulls tonight. Are they your favorite team to cover the spread? So they're getting 4 on the road in Philly.
I like that. I might even save them for a little bit later because I like them that much. The team against the spread, I'm going to go with the Nets. I know they just had their winning streak snapped the other night by the Bulls, but they're laying 5 against the Pelicans. No Zion, obviously, in that one. I mentioned CJ McCollum, who I like to have a good game, but I still like the Nets to bounce back. Yeah, make it 4.5 points now for the Brooklyn Nets. I think they get back on the winning side of things. They were playing great team basketball after just a brutal start to the season. Durant's got his name in the MVP mix, so I'll look for the Nets to bounce back against a banged up Pelicans team.
Yeah, man. And Pelicans 1-5 ATS in the last 6 home games against a team with a winning record. Nick, who do you like to cover the spread tonight?
Well, I know Rich might want to talk about them later on, but I'm not going to wait to talk about the Bulls right now. Getting 4.5 points. No Joel Embiid, obviously huge again with Vucevic not on the floor. Now the Sixers are 5-4 against the spread when Joel Embiid has been out this season. Still, in this matchup with Vucevic having such an important center on the other side, I think that the Bulls are going to cover here, especially because the Bulls are really good as underdogs this season. 13-10-2 as dogs, and then as road dogs in particular, even better, 9-6-1. And also, so Rich is probably going to talk about the money line play a little bit later, just in trying to analyze the market a little bit too. Not seeing as much action on the spread bets going towards the Bulls, but when you look over at the money line, again, Bulls still underdogs. They're only getting 31% of the bets, but 53% of the handle. So you can apply that over to the spread as well, given the Bulls are underdogs here.
All right, Gary Bear, favorite team to cover the spread tonight?
Yeah, I know they're on the second night of a back-to-back, but really, anytime the Nuggets are at home, I think you have to give them a serious look. And the fact that, as we've mentioned previously a couple times in this segment, Donovan Mitchell is not playing, Darius Garland might not play, and the Nuggets are only currently 6-point favorites. They are 15-3 in Denver. They are outscoring teams by 10 points per 100 possessions at home so far this season. That's the 3rd best rate in the NBA. And then on Cleveland's side, they are only 1-9-2 in their last 12 road games against the spread. They are a different team when they are away from Cleveland, just like the Nuggets are a different team when they are in Denver. I'll take the 6 points tonight.
All right, which game total are you riding right now, Fryer?
So I am going to cheat a little bit here, and I'm going to go with a team total. Although I do like the over on this game total as well if you really want to have a game total. But the Nets over 117.5 points against the Pelicans. Look, the Pelicans are top 11 in pace, and I know they have one of the better defensive ratings in the league, but the Nets have been scoring like crazy. I know last game they didn't go over this number, but in 10 of their last 13 games, they've gone over this number, and they've done so against the Bucks and against the Cavs, and those are the top 2 teams in terms of defensive rating. And when you look at the Cavs a little bit further too, they're last in pace, so they move the slowest. To me, this one's a no-brainer here. Nets over 117.5 points.
All right, Rich, game total.
I'm going over in the Wizards Thunder game. It's at 231.5. And yeah, it probably makes more sense to bet unders across the board, but that's not how I or anybody else really lives their lives. So I will take the over. The Thunder obviously scored 150 points against the Celtics not that long ago. They followed that up with 115 points, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander wasn't even in that 150-point performance. Fryer mentioned him as a guy to build your team around. The last time these two teams faced, or the only other time I should say these two teams faced, they combined for 241. So at 231.5, I will take the over in OKC, Washington.
Gare Bear, what's your game total?
Yeah, I'm going to lean to an over as well. Let's talk about that Charlotte-Milwaukee game again. I know that on Wednesday, the Bucks and Raptors set back modern basketball 40 years. I think Mark Jones needed like a written apology for having to call that game on national television, but the Bucks should be better with Drew Holiday back in the mix tonight. And then you've just got a Charlotte team that cannot play defense. And across their last 5 games, these two teams rank first and second in the NBA in pace. This is going to be a extremely up-tempo game. I think the Bucks can maybe just get to 130 by themselves. So maybe you pull a Nick and cheat here a little bit and just take the over 121.5 for the Milwaukee's team total if you're really worried about Charlotte having to score against this defense. But 232 for a game as up-tempo as this one's going to be with Drew Holiday back in the mix. I'll take the over.
All right, so Rich, favorite money line play. This is when you talk Bulls 76ers to us, right?
I'm going to talk Bulls 76ers to you. Yeah, I like the Bulls, and they're plus 150 right now. They were plus 160 last night when I was taking a peek. So clearly some of that money, like Fryer alluded to, is going on the Bulls, and maybe they sort of figured something out in that win against the Brooklyn Nets. They're still sub 500, but I like Vucevic a lot tonight. DeMar DeRozan's had a lot of good performances. You got Zach LaVine out there, and again, I know the Sixers have played, I think it's 9 games this year without Joel Embiid, and they do have a winning record, but you look at through there's a few Orlandos in there, and there's some bad teams. So, again, you're just taking one of the 5 best players in the NBA off of that team. I think the Bulls may have figured something out. They have 3 of their best guys clicking right now. So, I know they're getting 4 points, but I like the juice there. Give me the plus 150 on the Chicago Bulls.
Gare Bear, quickly.
I'm just going to do something I've done a lot the last 3 weeks on this show. I'm going to bet against the Raptors. Plus money for the Knicks tonight. Plus 135 on the money line. Raptors started the season. Their only saving grace was they were doing well at home. They are 1-6 ATS in their last 7 games in Toronto. They are 22nd in net rating their last 15 games. The Knicks are 2nd in the NBA in that span of time. I know the Raptors beat the Knicks last week. I don't care. Knicks at plus money. You got to take it.
All right, Fryer.
I got to say, Gary, don't let Emerson ever call you a homer again. I really respect it. So don't ever put up with that anymore. But I'm going with the Thunder against the Wizards here. Of course, you can take the Bulls against the 76ers as well. I do like that one a lot. But when you look at OKC, they are 7-14 straight up after a loss, 7-15 on the road, and they're 7-8 without Bradley Beal on the floor this season. And they've been very streaky as a team in general, but they've struggled quite a bit more of late when Beal hasn't been on the floor.
All right, Rich, you absolutely crushed it, man. Congrats on your debut. Looking to have you back here real soon. Fryer, okay? And Gary, I'm going to miss you, man. Have a great weekend. College Football National Championship best bets are coming up next.
Oh, boy.
Oh, hey. Guys, it's TCU and the Dogs of Georgia going at it for the College Football National Championship game. That is going to be on Monday night. Let's bring in our college football betting guru, Colin Sherwin here, dude. Before we dive into, I know, you've been a Frogs guy like through and through this season, so you absolutely had to love them holding off Michigan in the semifinal. And then you go to the other side and Ohio State shanking the field goal. I felt so bad for that kid against Georgia. What was your biggest takeaway, your favorite storyline in the semifinals?
I just thought it was how TCU persevered.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, look, I'm a complete homer at this point. I mean, I'm all in on this team.
Yeah.
I mean, they've been this way all season. I've been singing their praises for as long as I can, but I think that they just found a way. That turned into, it was a defensive battle. That third quarter was insane. A billion points got scored, and they found a way to win both ways. This is the best team in America in the second half against the spread. They see what you do. They assess and they figure it out. That's what having veterans does. That's what's having, not only guys like Max Duggan and Quentin Johnston, but like guys that can really play and then not only see what you do, but then adjust to it. And that's why I think they've just had so much success this year. I think that's the best story. And then, our poor kid from Georgia actually went to Steinbrenner High School, like right up the street here in Tampa. Just a really, I feel so terrible for him, but he never got close to that ball. I mean, it was just not even close. So, yeah, tough one. I don't know if Georgia should be in this game. I think the wrong team might have won that one.
All right, dude. So TCU's dream season's still alive, and no matter the circumstance or opponent, it just feels like those guys continue to find a way. So they're 12.5-point dogs to Georgia on Monday night here, dude. What is the bet? How are you approaching the spread?
I'm probably going to be on TCU. I got a little bit at 13.5 when it opened. It's down to 12.5. I think it probably closes in that 11.5 range. I think it goes down even a little bit more. And the big thing that I'll be on TCU second half, because that's the best bet in sports right now is just take TCU in the second half, see what they do and adjust. The thing that really I did not find impressive about Georgia was how undisciplined that defense was. Yes, they are statistically the number one defense in the country, but look at how they attacked Ohio State. They just let C.J. Stroud run out of the pocket whenever he wanted. They refused to stay in rushing lanes. They had no discipline in the back seven. I was stunned that they were that. I had Georgia win the game. I got lucky. I backdoored my way into that thing. I should not have won that bet. I was very not impressed with the Georgia defense, and I don't know if Will Muschamp and Kirby Smart can figure it out in time.
All right. Player or game props that you're going to consider in this one then? What do you got?
So TCU is going to have to force the ball to Quentin Johnston. They just don't have a choice. So Quentin Johnston is a plus 100 to catch a touchdown. I would like to see one where he catches 2 or 3 because they're just going to have to force him the ball. They're going to have to throw ladder, go routes on the ladder, and they're going to have to hit him. That's the only way that TCU has a path forward in this game. So, yes, they're going to force the ball to their best wide receiver and a guy who I think is going to be a first-round pick. So he's a stud, but I'm going to take him. And the other one I really like is, I think we have the yardage up there right now.
Yeah.
Brock Bowers, over 61.5 yards. TCU just doesn't have a way to cover him. That kid is an elite athlete and a freak, and Stetson Bennett's going to need somebody that he can use as a bailout in this game. It's going to be Bowers. And by the way, if Bowers catches the ball on like a 10-yard, if he catches just something over the middle for 10 yards, he can break it for another 40 because nobody can tackle him because he's an absolute freak of nature. So for me, those are the two guys that I'm targeting because I think both teams are going to have to rely on them to have any success.
All right. Who's winning this thing? Who's winning? Final score. All right. Go away from like your heart here. Use your head.
I can't do it.
I know you've been ride or die with them. You've been ride or die with them all season. I respect it.
I know, and I can't quite do it. I just can't. 44-41. Give me the dogs. I think this turns into a points battle. I think TCU covers.
Okay.
I think TCU makes a game of it late. This might even go to OT. But I definitely think it's going to be in. This is not going to be a blowout. But I can't find a way.
Oh, come on.
When TCU needs to be able to stop the run in the fourth quarter, I just don't know how they can get it.
Oh,
done.
you coward.
That's what hurts. I know. I feel so terrible. But I'm here to make the people money.
I agree.
Not doing my heart's right. I'm not going to bet it.
Okay.
I'm not going to bet it. I can't bet against my team.
TCU plus 350 on the money line right now. Before you take off, quickly here, dude. North Dakota State, South Dakota State, baby. What's the bet? Tell me.
So I wish the weather was a little bit worse in Frisco, Texas this week because the kids from Brookings, South Dakota, and South Dakota State already won in the Fargo Dome over North Dakota State earlier this year. I do wish the weather was a little crappier. I think that would favor South Dakota State a little bit, but I still think they got enough. They're laying 5.5 right now. I think it's enough. I'm going to stay away from the spread, but on the money line, I'm definitely taking the Jackrabbits. By the way, I believe that now that we have a Congress that's working again, the winner gets both Dakotas. So if whoever wins this game, their government takes over the state government for the other side. And we're
What?
down to one Dakota, which is something that we've needed to do for a really long time anyway. So we're down to one Dakota. South Dakota State, congratulations, you just absorbed North Dakota State on Sunday.
5 people live in like each state. So
Right. So put them together, mergers and acquisitions. Let's go.
All right. Good stuff, Colin. Appreciate it, man. Enjoy the weekend, and maybe we'll talk to you again on Monday ahead of National Championship game. That's our show, everybody. We'll see you back here in studio Sunday morning, 11 o'clock Eastern time. We're talking Week 18 around the NFL. Peace.